Hi, everyone. Welcome inside the Astro Studio, a show where I interview astrologers about their path and their methods to give people who love astrology a peek behind the scenes into the process and philosophies of the experts of our industry. I'm your host, Sarah Harar, otherwise known as the Astro Auntie, and today I'm talking with my beautiful friend, Celeste Brooks. Celeste is a predictive astrologer, a life coach, and a public speaker. She is the program director and a board member of the Organization of Professional Astrology, OPA, a faculty member of Kepler College. She lectures for astrology organizations, schools, conferences, including ESAR, Astrology Hub, Synchronicity University, and most recently, NORWAC. Before transitioning into astrology full-time, she had a successful sales and marketing career for over 25 years. You can find out more about her work on her website, but we're first going to talk to her. When I met Celeste, she was just a few months away from transitioning from the corporate world into full-time astrology. And I've been amazed at her trajectory and so inspired by her work. So hi, Celeste. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so happy that you're here.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm delighted to talk to you
Yes, I'm so happy we're doing this together. Um,
too.
So let's start at the beginning. I want to hear about your story. I want to put you in a context before you were the Celeste Brooks that we know today. So tell me, where were you when you met astrology? Who were you before you met astrology? Like, where did you grow up and stuff?
Yeah, so I grew up in New Jersey and I grew up, my background, I'm Baptist, but the nice Baptist, it wasn't fire and brimstone. But as a child, I always loved Greek mythology. So I
Mm.
really connected with the myths and the storytelling of that. And I've always known I'm a Taurus and really related to everything about the Taurus archetype. Like I'm practical, I'm stable, I'm grounded, all the kinds of like security is very important to me. I don't like change. Like I could
Right.
eat the same breakfast every day, and I do actually, but I could keep going for the rest of my life. But and then like my life was like I was a total normie. I my background is I have a degree in biology from UC Berkeley, and then I got my MBA later. But I spent 25 plus years in corporate sales, marketing, and business development. Now, my story is a little different. I came to astrology later in life. Astrology found me to the week when my progressed son, to the day actually, when my progressed son moved into the sign of Cancer and inspired me to grow something. Yeah, I knew I wanted to change. Like right around 2018, I got this feeling that, is this all there is for the rest of my life? Am I going to be doing this? Like, I really liked my job at times, but it started to lose its meaning by that time. And I'd
Mm.
love to go to this spa, Rancho La Puerta. And one year there was an astrologer there, Leslie McGurk. And I've been a student my whole life. Like I just love learning new things, learning different things. My North Node's in my ninth house. Um, and she was giving talks. And I actually went to a talk. It wasn't even about astrology, but she had written a book called The Power of Mercury. And I got her book, and it explained so much to me about my communication style and how I communicated with other people. And I got a reading from her. And then later, she invited me to a course and a week-long course to start studying astrology. And that was it. It was off to the races. I thought astrology was just going to
Wow.
be a hobby forever. But it took like it grabbed a hold of me and it like overtook my life. I couldn't learn enough because it explained so much about myself, my relationships. It brought me so much compassion for other people and myself. And it just, ooh, sorry for
Wow.
going on and on.
No, wow. So that's fascinating for me. So it was like a chance meeting in a spa with an astrologer. Like you didn't even like seek her out. She just happened to be there. And you
Synchronicity.
synchronicity, how old were you then?
So I was 47.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Oh no, was I 46 or 47? Yeah.
So you're going to the spa, this woman is there, and so she proceeds to give you a reading. Was it the first time you found out your big three, or did you know before that?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. And so that was like a really good reading, impactful.
Yes, it really helped me. One of the things she said, you're gonna write a book. I still haven't written the book yet, but I'm on my way. But
Yeah.
it was like actually that there was so much about my childhood and my family that really opened up for me from that reading, and it really, yeah, set me on the path of some
Remind me her
healing.
name, Leslie
Mm,
McGork.
yes, Leslie McGurk. She was out of Florida, but I think she's moved now. Mhm.
Amazing. So would you say that this was like the most impactful reading that you've gotten in your life?
The most impactful reading I've ever gotten was from Anne Orderly.
Oh yeah, no big deal. Yeah, for
And this
sure.
was, the reason Anne's was so impactful. I mean, Leslie's was very impactful for certain, every astrology reading has been impactful,
Really?
but like Anne just broke it down about how, and this was before I quit my corporate job. Like she gave me a suggested date to quit. And she was one of my mentors as well. But she just broke it down about what kind of astrologer I was going to be, the things I was going to do, but like she put, like I'm living it. She she said one of the things she said, because I have my Juno at 0 Aries on a world point conjunct my midheaven. She said you will partner with well-known people, and like my big break was with Colin Bedell doing a live on Queer Cosmos, doing a live on
His
Instagram.
Instagram.
And
Beautiful.
look at me here with Astrology.
I mean, the world is your oyster. And so Anne Orderly, she gave you a reading. You were already studying like really seriously by that time,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, I knew I wanted to be like leave my corporate career by that time. And with her, it takes you. She had a 9 month waiting list at that time. So from the time I booked the reading to the time I had the reading was a long time. Yeah, but when
And
I
so
booked it, I knew I wanted to leave corporate. Mhm.
how much later was that than the Leslie McGork reading? How many
I
years
think that
between?
was 6 years or something.
6 years. And so
Yeah,
during these six years, you leave the
so very.
spa. So you leave the spa,
Oh
Les
wait, no, it was around 5 or 6 years. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
so you leave the spa, you get this class with Leslie. And so what did you learn in the class? Like what type of a course was it? Like that pulled
Yeah,
you
it was
so
a
deep?
basic astrology, like foundations of astrology. So that was my first real introduction. But I picked it up like this because well, Anne says it's because I have my son by quintile. By quintiles are grace notes where you can synchronize information uniquely. And I have my son by quintile Uranus in Libra.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just came in like, and I've started absorbing astrology like boom. It just made sense
And
from
I
the
mean,
get
your
go.
mom called you Celeste.
Yeah, that's my name.
I
Because
mean,
I look like an angel.
it's literally your name. It's in the name. It's almost like too good to be true. Yeah? It's
Mhm. And,
beautiful.
and my ex-husband's name, which I didn't change after we divorced, is Brooks. So that's the Cancer rising, the water energy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's true. That's not your maiden name. So, wait, so tell me something. So, okay, I want to go back to Leslie. So, you take this course. How long was the course? Basic astrology. How long did that take you?
That one was a week-long course.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a
So,
week-long course,
super
and I think
basic.
3 hours every day we were studying astrology.
Okay. And so then you come out, you have a passion, and then you can't
And then I
stop.
have a passion. I
And
know
then
just a little bit. I know enough to get in trouble.
you know enough to get in trouble. Did you start giving readings right away?
I started asking people for their birth time everywhere. Everyone I knew. And then I would ask them questions. So I learned from with people, I learned from talking to people about their charts. And I made a lot of mistakes at the beginning, but it's yeah. But
Yeah.
like seeing it come to life and knowing like there are people I didn't even need to talk to, like my family. Oh, this is why this person's that way. This is why. So I just started studying endlessly. And then I started studying with Rebecca Gordon, was my next teacher.
And then Rebecca Gordon was your next teacher. So a longer
Mhm.
course. And what astrology did you take with Rebecca Gordon? Like what?
So I've taken almost everything that she's taught, but her beginner astrology class was 12 weeks long. So that took my learning to a different level where because Rebecca got me started on the moon. She got me started following the moon every single day, and I'm known for my moon
For your
stuff.
moon
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah,
okay.
and that it got me like really having a different understanding about how astrology shows up in the real world. Yeah, and she's given me amazing readings too. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So that's
Hmm.
it. At that time, that's it. You're a full-on addict. You're giving readings. And then, so Rebecca Gordon, you take this course. After you're enrolling in another course, have you not stopped studying ever? Like since Leslie McCord? You
I'm a
haven't.
constant student. I have a need to always learn. Like right now, I'm learning more about adding into my toolkit, really working on my intuition and my psychic development. That's what I'm doing now with Tiffany Hirlich. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really
Mhm.
fascinating. I think that that's one of the things that I think every person who like is really involved into astrology should continue pursuing, studying and expanding because it's literally a bottomless pit. Like we're never going to get to the bottom of it, you know?
Never, never. Yeah, yeah. And then I studied with Deborah Silverman. I took all her levels, and then
So
I
that's
did the
when I
school.
met you. That's when I
Mhm.
met you and Deborah's. So you did all the levels at Deborah, 1, 2, and 3, and then you interned, and then you became a teacher, a mentor over there as well. And so that's how we met. You were my intern in my class. Um, so fun. I'm so happy for serendipity. First of all, Deborah is very much a connector for me, like in my life,
Mhm.
you know?
First, the applied astrology school that she has set up is just phenomenal for making connections. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
right? It feels really like a community.
Oh, definitely. It's a family.
It really
It's a
is.
DSA family.
It's really beautiful, definitely. So, okay, so Rebecca Gordon, Deborah, what year was that you were taking DSA courses?
That was 2020 during the pandemic.
Oh, yeah. And so tell me, what is already like a difference that you would say, like, this I learned from Leslie, this I learned from Rebecca, this I learned from Deborah? Like, how was that a part of your evolution?
Okay. So I learned the basics from Leslie, as well as she focused a lot on Mercury. So I learned a lot about that from her. From Rebecca, more of the mundane astrology, as well as she got me started on the moon and eclipses. Yeah, and eclipses. Rebecca really helped me deepen my understanding around that. And then Deborah about Saturn. Yes. And I have Saturn on my sun. And so Deborah helped as well with personal psychology and the cycles, helping me deepen my understanding around that. And then I took the School of Traditional Astrology. They have this 20-week horary course. And that helped me like take my understanding to the next level um, in terms of yeah doing with predictive work, doing like
Right.
horary answering questions.
And so you went, so Leslie and Rebecca are both like modern astrologers as well as Deborah. And so that's like your first array into like classical traditional astrology.
Yeah.
And do you find that the foundations of traditional like that really helped you even as a modern astrology practitioner?
Oh, that took my understanding to a whole different level.
Yeah.
Learning, yeah, Yeah.
What would you say?
Learning horary, because you learn the basics about movement and it's meaningful. Is it applying? Is it separating? Is it learning the dignities, the essential dignities, learning all sorts of things, yeah.
Yeah, and those
From
are
the
techniques
traditional
that you
days.
use. Those are techniques that you use now in your practice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and so after that, after your school of traditional astrology, like where did you go? I love it because this is going to be like, okay, she's Sun conjunct Saturn. So this is going to be like a serious resume. Like we are not here to lollygag. Right.
Well, I also during the time was a member of Astrology Hub, which had different astrologers every month. So
Yeah.
I learned a lot of like, and you can pick up little techniques like Frank Clifford. I learned about solar arcs from him, and then I folded that into my practice. Anne Ortley, I mean, her weekly weather was such a training tool for me. And then I started mentoring with her as well as getting the reading. April Kent Elliott. April Elliott Kent. I always like to mess up her name. I mentored with her as well. She was really helpful. And Bronwyn Simmons. Those are some of the teachers I did, more one things. Bronwyn got me into the goddesses, and actually Bronwyn introduced me to the lunar phase families.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's a
She's a
really
Canadian astrologer. You should have her.
I should have her on ISAR. Yeah,
Yes.
I'm gonna reach out absolutely to do a star club with her. Yeah,
Yes.
wow. So those are your teachers. Do you find that you are like a part of a lineage? Like, do you consider yourself like a part of a lineage or how do you see yourself like in like, yeah, a
I
tradition?
feel like I have a toolbox, and like I put in tools that work. So I wouldn't call myself one specific lineage because I mix modern and traditional, and mm, and then I add in like I use cards with the readings. I use Oracle and Tarot cards, so I layer that in. Plus, I get intuitive hits, and I'll like tell my client, "This is my intuition." Blah blah blah, and this astrology will support it, but I've learned to like go with my first hit over time.
Mm-hmm. I think that's really important what you're saying about like saying this is my intuition when you're in a reading, like not letting the client know who can't read their chart that it's not what necessarily what the astrology is saying, but that it's like a hit that you're feeling, you know? I think that
Mm-hmm.
just vocalizing it in a session is super respectful of your client and just like also creates clear consent about the type
Mm-hmm.
of information that they're getting. Yeah. Um,
Absolutely.
so okay, so tell me something. Like, do you find that because I'm interested into it also in knowing like what did you bring into your astrology career from all those years into corporate? Like, is there similar skills? Are there similar skills that you used in that world that you're still using now? And how does that transpire? Like, how does your secular, education come into this?
So I was in sales and marketing for for most of my career. So that helped me to understand how to position myself, how to share, the features of working with me, of the benefits rather than the features, just like the sales process. It helps so much. I also have leadership experience. So I've used that and mentoring experience, used all of those tools because I also am a coach. So helping people, sometimes people come to me because they have a goal they want to achieve. Lots of times it's around their job or career. Sometimes it's just about knowing themselves better. But yeah, using those tools to give suggestions on strategies and tactics in order to get to where people want to go, like that all comes from my corporate career as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you
Mhm.
can't like really like separate one from the other. Like it's just
No.
one big Celeste soup,
Yeah.
whether that's
Yeah.
like
And like,
all the, yeah.
Like, and I used to do volunteering for a domestic violence shelter. So I have domestic violence training. And so using skills that came in through that kind of stuff that I've done in the past. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
was also a candy striper when I was a kid.
You were?
I've got my South Node in Virgo. It's like
Yeah.
helping. Yeah.
Yeah, being helpful, coaching. And so yeah, so you find that the mentoring and the coaching and the leadership and particularly the marketing. So yeah, you're good at marketing yourself.
Thank you.
This
I
is
would hope
like
so.
you're really good at it. Yeah, she's like, I'm a professional.
Well, one of my jobs, like I've done these Uranian things because I was at this GE Healthcare. It was other names too, but for like 15 years. And so in my late 30s, I, made this big change and into this other, it was like a different industry, compatible but different. And like it took my skills to the next level. And when I was there, it was ridiculous what we were selling for the price we were selling, but we had a niche. And I'm like, if I can sell this,
I
I can
could
sell
sell
anything. And
anything.
if I
That's
can't sell myself, oh my God.
that's amazing. So you see, I feel the opposite. I feel like I could sell anything, but just not myself. Or something along
Ah,
these lines. Like I'm like, oh no, I don't know, something like that. But it's interesting that you feel this way. So tell me a little bit about your practice now. Um, so you teach and you give
yes,
readings and you
yes.
do so many different things. But what is like one theme, one passion, like one astrology topic that you're like the most passionate about teaching or that you love using the most?
I love mundane astrology, which is astrology of worldly event. So I love seeing a transit coming in and anticipating how it's going to show up in the collective. Yeah, I love that. I love the collective and the personal level. Like I love seeing them both. Maybe
Yeah.
that's my Gemini placements. Yeah.
Is that something that Anne Orderly suggested for you, the mundane astrology? Did she see that for you?
No, I just listening to her podcast, I got so into it. Like I loved what she, like what she shared and how it showed up. I learned so much from it. Yeah, and she had me wearing a mask. I went to Tahiti in early 2020, and I was the only person on the plane with a mask on. I didn't care.
Wow. And
Thankfully, no one got sick, but it was right before, like, we almost didn't go on the cruise or I was thinking about not going because of COVID. But I just put my mask on and went, and thankfully it was fine.
so, okay, so tell me a little bit about mundane astrology. Like how do you engage with it? So you wake up in the morning, you open the news. What do you do, Celeste? How do you do it?
And then I noticed what stories jump out at me, and
Hmm.
what is the nature of the astrology related to this story. So, and you could call it force connections, as well as when I'm out with my dog. I recommend for people when a planet goes into a sign that when you're out, like with your eyes, your ears, everything, what of the nature of that planet and that sign comes to your conscious attention and how do they relate? And you can just start with one transit, you know,
So as soon
like,
as there's an ingress, when a planet just moves into a sign is at 0 degrees, put that
mhm,
planet in your mind and kind of
mhm.
like try to see the world through the lens of that planet and see if you can recognize it outside of you.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
and
Yeah.
what does that do for people?
That helps teach you the astrology and that helps you see how it can show up in many ways. And you start with just a planet going into a sign or an aspect, and then you can build it up when there are two aspects happening at the same day.
Hmm.
So, like, this is a difficult one, but we had for one of the big aspects of the year of 2024 was the Mars Uranus conjunction at 26 Taurus. And on the same day, the sun in Cancer is squaring Chiron and Aries. And a couple days before, Mars transits come in a couple days before they perfect. You'll start. Donald Trump, the former president of the United States, there was an assassination attempt. So that's Mars, Uranus, and then Sun square Chiron and Aries. The Sun is the leader, and Chiron, Aries rules the head. You should know your
Body parts,
body parts.
of
Yeah.
rulerships. Yeah.
Yeah. And then yeah. And then there was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump. Now, also on the same day, Mercury in Leo was King Kong Saturn and Pisces. Pisces rules the feet. And one of the things Mercury communicates, and Leo is a yang fire sign. And as he was kind of getting up, he was like, let me get my shoe, let me get my shoe. So that was like the Saturn and Pisces. And Mercury is slowing down to station to go retrograde. And one of the stories that came out was that the security was really slow to react. They were delayed, Saturn delays in capturing the shooter. Yeah. So like you can think about like how does what is happening today relate to each of these different transits, and take time with your mind to think about that. Now today I also went out with my dog, and Mars and Mercury both rule dogs. Mars, you can think about dogs as protection, Mercury as a companion. And there was this German Shepherd who like really wanted to take a piece out of Debo, my dog. So he was Mars, and in Taurus, in detriment, he wanted to my dog for a snack. You can think Taurus about satisfying him, his desires, but he was on a leash. So that Saturn and Pisces, the leash was like holding him back from, and then weakened him. Pisces, you can think about like a little bit of the weakness. Like that's another way you can start to teach yourself all the ways things show up. And then there was a guy on this scooter, like he had a knee scooter because Mars, he'd had an accident that Mercury, King Kong Saturn and Pisces, like he couldn't use one of his, he was like immobilized, and he had this little transit thing. You can think about Mercury is related to transportation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he had a cute little dog with him. So he had his dog with him too. So anyway, that's kind of how
I see.
Some fit tightly and some are loosely.
Yeah, but it's just about you like using the astrology to help you. Like, okay, so explain to me, like, does it add to your narrative during the day? Does it help you? How does that help, for instance?
It helps you recognize faster and faster how the astrology shows up, and then it's in your memory banks. And so when you're working with your clients, you may see an aspect that triggers this kind of knowledge that you've gotten, and it helps you with you helping your clients. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, let me give you another example. The day that Venus met Uranus in Taurus, I was walking my dog, and this woman came out of the barber shop, and she had like this really wild hair, and like what she was wearing like it looked like almost like a nightgown, but she like caught my eye like right away. And so I'm thinking, what is going on? Venus, a woman, Uranus, unusual, Taurus, a place where you're working on beauty coming out. And there was another transit that was activating Saturn and Pisces, or something about Pisces, and she looked like she was in sleep clothes, and you could think about how Pisces sleep. So yeah, you just start to see, and you will start to see the transits in your thoughts, in what you're seeing. Even if you're watching a movie, think about how it relates to the transit. So it helps you understand, okay, Mars is squaring Saturn. I do not want to go on vacation on this day because there's going to be problems. It's going to be blocked in some way. There could be hard feelings. This is not energy to go have fun. Now you can go on vacation, then there are other transits, and you still maybe have fun, but you won't have as good of a time as if you go when Venus is trine Jupiter. That is, or Venus conjunct Jupiter. How much fun did we have at Norwalk together with the
Yeah,
Venus Jupiter conjunction in Taurus sextile Neptune? Just, it was almost like a dream. It was so much
so much
fun. We
fun.
felt so much togetherness. It just love was everywhere.
It was amazing. It's true. And on the Uranus-Mars conjunction, I told my husband that it was conjunct my sun and moon, and I told my husband that I didn't want to drive, and then I got into a little fender bender where somebody rear-ended me. So very literal. One of the first things I did was text you and Tiffany into our Astro chat where we're always telling each other transits and correlations. Um, but do you think that for me in that moment, actually, it helped me bring levity or put that thing in context? It's also like a weird, creepy confirmation in a way, you know what I mean? Like ha ha ha. But it does work. And so it does help maybe put things into another perspective or into another context, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
well, that Mars Uranus was on your sun and moon, right?
yeah, 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 yeah.
So you knew there's going to be some kind of personal story. The moon literally is your environment, your physical body. The sun, your also has to do with your vitality, your identity. Mm.
Yeah, yeah,
And that Mercury can come Saturn. You are stopped,
yeah.
and Mercury, a car, boop, hit you. That's how it showed up.
Isn't that incredible? And I mean, thankfully, nothing happened and everything was fine, but it's just the precision of it that was kind of like funny. And so, do you think that would you recommend astrology students like know more about mundane astrology or study more traditional forms of astrology so that they could put things in context? Like, do you feel
I,
that, yeah,
I think understanding traditional astrology, understanding planetary movement, understanding the dignities and understanding how planets have different amounts of strength depending what signs they're in, layering all that stuff on really, really adds to your understanding of astrology. Yes, definitely.
so that's a
Mhm.
recommendation that they have?
Understanding retrogrades, stationary planets. Like when you see someone with a planet stationing, like Joe Biden had Saturn and Pisces station on his IC, which is opposite his MC, his career. Saturn failure. And that was the day, 2 days after the debate is when Saturn stationed on his IC. And it retrogrades, yeah, retrogrades are very revealing. So like this kind of thing is so important. It really helps you with your knowledge.
Yeah.
And I'm just interested in the world outside of myself. Like some people might just want to use astrology to help people understand their
Do some
parental,
natal, yeah, some people
their
do
natal, blah, 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 blah.
only
I
natal
like the
sorts of,
natal, but I like bringing it up. Yeah, I
yeah.
like
Do you find that
expansive
this
things.
is this is your passion? Like really,
This
this
is
is
my
like
path.
where your heart is? Yeah.
Mhm.
And so, but you still do client work and love it, right?
Oh, I love it. Yeah, and I love when clients come to me when they're they're like trying to make a decision or working on a specific issue. And that's generally what, or just want to forecast. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like
And
doing that so much better, talking about where you are now, where do you want to be, what has happened in the past, how did it lead to this point, and like really, like we're in a reading, we're really talking about there's always something that's going on right now, like the quality of the timing of right now that I love talking with people about. And it brings in their natal astrology, and sometimes it's related to the mother or the father relationship. So yeah, I love
mm-hmm.
like this expansiveness of, yeah, what's going on now.
So
Mhm.
this is the type of work that you do with your clients, like working on timing mostly, you find? Like, do you attract people who want to know what is the right time to do something, when I should? So kind of like some electional-ish type of maybe astrology also?
Yeah, I do some electional stuff, or like also like what is going on? How did this happen? Like, so it's maybe something that happened in the past. What does this mean? Yeah. Yeah. Also, like, what am I here to do? Like, helping people understand their purpose too.
Yeah, talk to me a little bit
Different.
about that. Like, you find that you attract a lot of people that are looking for purpose, career change,
Mhm.
stuff like that. Do you think that's a reflection of your own chart somehow, maybe?
Yes, I think I attract people who want someone, who's compassionate and caring, and I'm a Cancer rising,
Mm-hmm.
that they can, be really revealing. And there's two things. So I'm a Cancer rising, so Capricorn's on my descendant. So I do attract people who want to who have goals and want to
Build.
help, like building something. And then if you move me to California, I have Gemini rising on my ascendant, which puts Sagittarius on the descendant. So I also attract people who like the meaning of life, what's my purpose, what am I here to do, like this higher consciousness kind of stuff to me as well. Yes. And I'm an Aries moon. So people who want people to give it to them straight. Like I'll only beat around the bush so long before I just get right to it. Like, and some people want just like all the lyrical stuff. Like let's get down to brass tacks. Blah,
Yeah,
blah. Yeah. And
yeah,
then I'm
you
a
got,
Taurus sun. So practical, grounded, step by step things. Yeah.
yeah,
Those are
that's
the three things I could give that helps people.
mm. So you feel like they come to you for nurturing, for helping build, for practical kind of like real talk,
Real
simplicity.
talk. Yeah.
And so that's like a really funny thing that I find about you is like the multiplicity of who you are and how surprising some parts of you are, you know? And
Uranus at my IC.
you also have like this side of you where, yes, you are an intuitive. And so you hear things, you kind of like work with energy, you pull cards. And so do you find that that's like, okay, for me, that's like a big surprise. Like when people hear she was in corporate for so long and then she da 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 and Celeste Brooks, da, 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 and then she pulls her cards and it's like almost like surprise. Um, and so do you use that a lot with your client work also, like your intuition, etc.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like they come to you. So do you have clients for like in purely intuitive work yet?
I always use the astrology.
You always will.
Although maybe someday I'll move past it.
Yeah,
But I feel like I always like it's all these are all tools in my toolbox. So I'm recognizing what's going on right now astrologically, and then the cards are confirmation and like yeah, can unfold the story in different ways. Yeah, and then and when I get like some intuitive hits and I get hits through music, well, there'll be
I
like
love
something
that
that
so much.
jumps out at me.
Yeah, you'll
Yeah.
hear lyrics of a song or a bit of a song or the theme of a song, and you're like, oop, that's a sign. And you put it
Yeah.
on the side, and then we see if something matches. So this is the way you work, right? You'll take note of what you see or you hear,
Mhm.
put it on the
Mhm.
side, let it chill on ice. And then when you find something that matches it, you're like, oh, this was that, this was that. It's a lot of fun to uh, be like a witness to this process because I'm privy to it because we text and you share with me a little bit about what's going on, but sometimes it's like so spot on. There was this moment, this epic internet moment in which people were freaking out at you for calling the fact that Princess Kate had cancer way longer before than they announced it. And
Mhm.
so maybe the problem was that you didn't write, I think maybe it's possible that, and you just went ahead and wrote, Kate has cancer. And like the
which I shouldn't have.
no,
Okay.
that was
So what happened was there, like the eclipse of 2024 eclipsed my Uranus and my moon. And I had like this like psychic opening where I just started getting these downloads just rushing in. This was before the eclipse. Saturn, Mercury, and the Sun met on my North Node, and it looks like I came to meet my clarity that, oh my God, I have some psychic stuff going on. And it was the nature of the Saros cycle of this eclipse, flashes of intuition, sudden download, da da da. And it was just overwhelming, and things started flooding through, and I just started doing on threads, throwing things out like, what was it? The twins who made news, the conjoined twins were gonna make news. Mike Tyson's gonna make news. Like all this stuff just started, and Princess
has
Kate has
cancer.
cancer. That just came in like boom, and I should have never said it because it's a health thing, and she's a person, and blah blah blah. But
You live and you
I got a
learn.
little crazy for a little while, but then I started learning how to work with it. But yeah, a lot of people were not too happy with me
They
about that.
weren't too happy because whatever, they're not, people on the internet are not happy. Also, maybe because it should have been like, maybe possible. I think she maybe might have possible, maybe not, hopefully not, but like have a little bit of that
Yeah.
before. But in the end, it was weeks before the announcement. You read it in the chart, you had a hit, it was like right on, and the conjoined twins, and there were so many stories that were just like exactly on that. At the same time, it was um yeah, a big confirmation, right?
Yeah, but those were just hits that came in. Like I wasn't looking at her chart, but it was the lunar eclipse in Libra. And it was one of the things was Venus exalted in Pisces, a princess, conjunct Saturn in Pisces, this chronic illness. And you can think about the conjoined twins. They were this big story about two conjoined twins, and one was married. So Libra rules relationships.
So funny.
And so there's all this information in my memory bank. Like I've been studying the chart of the eclipses. Eclipses are one of the best predictive tools there is. The
Hmm.
charts of the eclipses, and like with the South Node in Libra, shattering images. Like
Yeah.
there was that whole thing when I forget the exact astrology where they tried to deceive the public in England
Oh
about
yeah, I do remember there was like an AI picture and the fingers
the
looked
picture of
weird.
with the
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
kids.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah,
it's
that
really,
was Mars Uranus. That was Mars squaring Uranus when that happened. How interesting we're talking about it when Mars is conjunct Uranus.
yes, that's true. That we're halfway in the cycle.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about like your favorite methods to use when you're in session. Like what type, when I mean methods, like I mean like do you follow, for instance, secondary progressions, solar arcs? Like what type of methods do you use when you look at a chart? How do you get into the chart? Like what's your way in the chart when you're with a client?
Well, my favorite thing to do, I'll just share my process, is I look at the consultation chart before I even look at the client chart. So the consultation chart is a chart of the moment for when the client comes to get a reading, and you set it for your location, and you read it like a horary chart. And I'll be teaching a workshop about this at the Astrological Association in England. Yeah, a 2.5 hour workshop. People can it's in Leicester, England in August 28th through 31st, and people can do it online if they want. But using the consultation chart, it tells you because the ascendant represents the person who's coming for the reading, And then the planet that rules the ascendant speaks to where they are at this moment. And then you can look at what house it's in, what the planetary condition is in. You can see what the separating aspects help you understand what happened most recently and what it's applying to what is likely to happen next. And so that helps me understand what's going on with the client. Like if there's a malefic on the seventh house cusp, like, okay, they're having a problem with someone outside of themselves. If there's, I love it when there's Leo on the ascendant, because this is like someone who has a dynamic desire to express themselves in some way, like have a business launch, doing something where they're letting their light shine. Yeah, I love it when that is. Yeah, sometimes when it's Virgo rising, it's someone with a health problem. When it's Gemini, they're juggling so many different things and like they're making a decision. Like it can just tell you something. And then you know the current astrology. If someone's coming to see you when Mars is squaring Saturn, they've got a problem versus, whatever else it is. Yeah, and you'll see the same people will have a same, and understanding degrees are important. Like you'll see a bunch of people that have like a certain placement at the same degree sometime on the same day. There'll be a theme between the people you see on a day. So starting with the consultation chart, like gives me some insight, and I don't always know exactly how it's going to show up, but I know something. And then, and especially if someone has gifted them the reading, the consultation chart is really helpful because there may be something that's not in the conscious awareness, but really needs to be talked about. Yeah.
Do you consider
And
the
then
time of purchase or the time of the appointment?
the time of the appointment.
Okay.
And if the appointment changes, you use the time when the appointment starts. Like if someone makes a bunch of, I had a client last week, they changed their time like 4 times. I was like, okay.
And so do you agree with me that horary is a form of divination?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like casting runes for astrologers.
It's the tarot card for astrology.
Yeah,
It's a
right?
chart of the moment that talks about what's going on right now
So it's like
and
almost
what's likely to happen next.
right. Right. And so, okay, so you pull a horary chart for the moment of the consultation. You look at that by looking at the rising, putting the client at the rising, looking at the condition of the ruling planet of the
Mhm.
chart. Okay, so then the client comes in, you have their chart.
Yeah. And another thing, if a planet is angular planets are always more important. That means the client feels like they have agency. If it's in a Caden house, ooh, they may feel like they have no control over what's going on with them. Yeah, and there's all sorts of things you can do with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, horary is amazing. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And consultation charts are so powerful. And then like they want to change jobs. If the if it's in a fixed sign, the midheaven, and at the beginning of the sign, you're likely not going to see any changes for a while. But at like the getting to the last degree, they're worried about being laid off. Yeah, this could happen, and look around this time. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, and then so then you pull their chart, and for me, my eye just goes to things right away because I know. And if you are not one who remembers things, you should have a sheet with where are the degrees of all of the eclipses, as well as the degrees that planets station, is important. Like if you see someone where Saturn's stationing on their sun, that means it's really important for you to discuss that with them in some way,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever it is that's stationing and
So
stationing wherever.
eclipses, so you said having the eclipses degrees, so knowing where the eclipses were in the most recent rounds and in the future rounds of eclipses, and knowing the degrees of the retrogrades of when a planet is going to station retrograde, just really having that in mind, because for you, those are really like the critical degrees where shit is happening, stuff is being rocked. We have to look at that. So Okay. Then
Yeah,
what
and major transits like the
major trends?
Jupiter-Uranus conjunction or this Mars-Uranus conjunction, and knowing the big transits of the year, that as well. Like Jupiter square Saturn's coming up, 17 degrees. Jupiter will be at
Yes.
17 Gemini, Saturn at 17 Pisces. If you see someone coming in with that, there's going to be a story about how they're trying to grow, but feeling blocked, or how they can like have this controlled growth, like how they're being tested. Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
especially, the rising sign. So your rising sign, the planet that rules your rising sign and the planet that rules your sun, it's important to just be aware of what they're doing in the sky as well. Like Joe Biden is a Sagittarius rising. Jupiter's in detriment in Gemini now. He is having all kinds of problems that are just going to get bigger. Yeah. And so knowing that, like, ooh, you're going to be having some kind of shock because you're a Sagittarius sun or a Pisces sun, or rising, and that Jupiter Uranus coming together. Yeah. Does
Mm-hmm.
that make sense? I hope that made sense, Helen.
It does to me. Let me see if I can reflect it back to you, and you tell me if I got the sense of it. So basically, you're saying that knowing where big transits, current transits are going to happen in the chart. So that's interesting for me, because what this says to me about the way that you read is that you have these points of the chart already picked in your head, that these are crisis or important degrees that are being activated, that these degrees will be activated this year or in the or where or and so you want to
Or
see,
next year or the
or
fall. Yeah,
next
yeah.
year exactly, and you want to see how that aspects your client's chart, and if your client's chart is directly aspected by these precise points, then you know you have a story there.
Mm-hmm. I know, like, yeah, sometimes like, oh, I know something's going on with a sibling of this or that because this, that. And also remembering what happened the last year or so, because sometimes people, I'll know, okay, last September, your Venus was eclipsed. What was the story around that? Or knowing like, okay, what happened last summer when Venus was retrograde in Leo, because you're Leo rising and you have 28 degrees where Venus stations in your chart, you have your Mars there. Like, what happened?
And
And
so
then people will be like, oh, how did you know? What happened?
mhm. And so basically what you're saying, so eclipses, transits, right?
Mhm.
Those are like your go-to, your the the basic cheese omelet, right?
Yes.
What are the top
Eclipses,
eclipses,
transits, retrogrades,
retro
degrees.
eclipses, transits, retrograde degrees? That's your recipe for a delicious reading.
Yeah, those are really, yeah, those are the things that are really
Those are
helpful.
those are the your three first go-to in your toolbox.
Now it is. Like when I first started doing readings, it was sun, moon, and rising. Like I would just really focus on those to build the story.
Right.
Yeah,
But so
yeah,
now it's more so like what is being activated in the chart? Like what is
yeah.
the
What?
yeah.
Yeah. What is being excited in the chart?
Mm-hmm.
These transits, eclipses, these are natal excitations that bring things out into our lives.
And so do you have like a typical like script like or menu or like a way that you conduct every reading that's kind of like repeat? I don't know, you're a
I
Taurus.
don't. You're rating it. Everyone is
Happened.
different. I just like
I'm like almost mad. I'm like, but you're a Taurus.
I know. It started when I first started, I had like this recipe, but your rising sign is what you're rising up to. So for me, being a Cancer rising, I'm rising up to letting it flow, using my flow, following the energy
Mm-hmm.
around through the discussion. And sometimes someone comes in and from the minute they sit down, like I'm in their chart and we're off to the races and every minute of the reading is on target. Sometimes it may even take me like 10 minutes to get to what is going, like I may have to ask them a bunch of questions and some of the answers may be no. Sometimes it's a little harder to get into the chart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so what do you do then? How do you break them?
I just keep asking questions and then I don't necessarily break them. I break into the chart and then maybe it's a card pull or something like that. There's something that will click and it's like, okay, or
Mm-hmm.
I get the story now. Because some people are very hesitant to, like, maybe they don't even know, or like or they're not recognizing things going on in their lives even though they're there, and then you'll ask them this question and they'll say no, and then later on they'll describe exactly what you asked them about, but they didn't make the connection. They'll
Of
say
course.
something that relates back to what you asked them at the beginning of the reading. Yeah.
So
So
every session is basically even a surprise for you. Like you don't even know what to expect when you have a client come in. You're like, okay, whatever, you're looking at the horary chart, and then whatever jumps at you is just like the theme, and you'll go there.
yeah, so
You're,
sometimes I start, yeah, I start different ways every time. Well,
yeah,
I start every session by, this is something I added this year. Like where I have like opening the session, and then I call in people's angels with my little angel spray, and then we take a breath together, and then I confirm their birth time, and then we go from there.
so you do have
And
like a
set an
little,
intention
you have a
and go from
little ritual to open the moment, and then you just follow spirit wherever it's going to take you with the chart.
yes,
Wow. And
yeah.
then after your readings, like how do you like decompress between two sessions or make sure that the energy of one, do you have like cleansing or
I need to
bound?
be better about that. Like I'm supposed to do it at the end as well to close it, but sometimes I forget. Like getting up and walking away from my desk. Sometimes with like if it's an intense reading where someone's really going through a crisis, I'm more conscientious. Maybe I'll light a candle or sage or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, washing your hands even, and I have this protection and guardian spray and a lighten up spray. Yeah, I can use those as well. Just some, just to clear the energy.
Yeah. Sometimes I do a dance break between two clients.
Mm,
Like it's really like my cleansing is really through music and dance. So I just have to like shake it off a little bit, and I'll put some
mhm,
music and just like clear the energy. So tell
mhm.
me, so do you consider astrology to be like a belief system for you, like a spiritual practice? Like what role does it have like in your life, spiritually or not?
I mean, astrology, I think, is a tool. I really believe in the synchronicity of as above, so below. I don't really think it's a belief system. Astrology just is. What I think, and this is something that came to me a couple weeks ago, there are different people who have or able to read the energy, because every moment has an energy. And throughout the world, we're all under the same energy, although it's impacting us differently, and it's impacting different places differently, depending on, where things are in the houses. Now, some people come into this life just psychic. They have a lot of water or 12th house placements or 8th house placement, and they just can read the energy without any training or anything. They know what people are thinking, they know what's going to happen, blah, 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 blah. Then there are people who have access to this, but can train themselves through different things. And then there are people who use like something physical, like ruins or tarot or blah, blah, blah. And then they can use these images or pictures to read the energy. And then there are like us astrologers who need this like physical thing, the chart, and we have this logic thing. We have this, like, I'm very earthy and airy. So we need to see it and manifest and have the logic to be able to to read the energy and write the story. So I feel like they're different levels, but we're all kind of doing the same thing in different ways. Does that make sense?
Sure. And does that fit, like into like a spiritual belief of yours? So you said like as above,
Oh,
so
I
below.
believe the universe is alive. I believe that in divine consciousness, God. Yeah, this is not random. There's order to it. There's, yeah. Mm.
Yeah, same. For me, it's almost like God left us clues.
Yes,
Clues everywhere about the nature of the universe. There are
yes.
clues everywhere. I was thinking
And you
last,
can ignore them. You can just
yeah,
go through life, say nothing matters, nothing's
exactly.
this or
We're the
that.
ones who
All if I
ascribe
can't see
meaning.
it, it doesn't exist. It's
Yeah,
not in
we're
the
the ones who
instruction
ascribe meaning.
manual. Hmm?
Exactly. We're the ones who ascribe meaning.
Meaning to, yeah,
We're the
meaning to
ascribers of meaning. There is no absolute meaning except for the one that we ascribe, right?
exactly. And this and that can be true. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking of that, of the clues last time. I was like, oh, it's all a bunch of clues. And then I was like, for reincarnation, like everybody's like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. We have no proof. We don't know. It's a big question. And I'm like, but God made butterflies? But like we could see the caterpillar die in front of like we can see it. There's a cocoon that goes into goo. It
Yeah.
melts and then it comes out again, a different thing. So like, is that a clue? You know what I mean? Like everything is little omens, little clues. So it's
Mhm.
almost like, yeah, reading the sky is like a conversation with divinity for some of us. For some people, it's not a spiritual, like it has no no relation to
Yeah.
divinity or it's
Yeah, some
pure
people just use
science.
astrology as a clock. Astrology is a clock, and Saturn, Uranus transits happen to the day. These are the ones that kind of jump out at us. Mars comes in a few days early. Pluto lasts for a year, so those things are.
Yeah, yeah, a little bit.
But it could just the clock. This is coming up here, this and there. Yeah, some people it's all an intellectual study.
Hmm. But for you,
Yeah.
so what does it bring to your life? Like, what would you say, like, how has astrology like changed you? Like, if I was to speak to my friend like 15 years ago, would I recognize you? Would I be like, oh yeah,
Not really. I mean, I
no,
have the same nature, but
of course.
um, yeah, I saw the spiritual tools. Like, I love going to this Rancho La Puerta. This is me going to my North Node in Pisces. I was stuck in my South Node in Virgo, which I still get stuck in sometimes. Overworking, too focused on the material, perfectionistic, yeah, all of this kind of stuff. But moving to the North Node in Pisces, trust, belief, intuition, all of that kind of stuff, meditation, spiritual things. Yeah. So, what astrology has done for me, it has turned my whole life upside down. It has made the world a different kind of playground and storyteller, and watching it unfold. It's like reading a novel. I'm reading a novel of the energy, and this is the thing I love doing with astrology, watching the way one transit rolls into the other, and how the whole story breathes together. Like, I used to read novels. This is just coming to me right now. I used to read novels all the time because I love storytelling. I have Venus in Gemini, and Venus, Mars, and Gemini, challenges of story, difficult stories that really entertain me or inspire me, whatever. With twists and turns, Venus and Mars trine Uranus. I like the twists and turns, but there's always some like big learning. I have Jupiter in trine them as well in Libra. There's always some like something positives coming out of this story in some way, seeing the to have the like keeping the optimism. So anyway, life is a playground with I'm never bored, yeah, with the astrology. Mm.
That's amazing. So it like brought like more richness, interesting. And so, and on a personal level, like understanding your chart, like what is some type of work that you that you did on yourself, like by understanding. So you spoke about your North Node in Pisces and your South Node in Virgo. Like, what other things do you think that astrology helps you, like on a very personal level, like knowing your chart?
Well, reading Astrology for the Soul by Jan Spiller about the nodes helped me understand things that I had um, attributed to being like gifts, attributed to being the way to be, like that South Node in Virgo, that it was acting against my best interests over time. All the overworking brought me, I'm a Taurus. Taurus rules the neck. I have some like neck issues from that showed up in my mid 40s from all that overworking. Yeah. And that, oh my God, I had like the best years of my career in sales. Um, as I moved more towards the Pisces North Node, trusting my intuition, knowing when it's enough, and then just moving on to the next thing. I mean, that was, yeah,
Hmm.
it enriched me, my pockets as well as my life. Um, and oh, I had something I really wanted to say. Oh, my moon in Aries. My moon in Aries is it's kind of like just hanging out there in my 10th house. That helps me understand why it's so important for me to be connected emotionally to my work, the 10th house of work.
Hmm.
But I had been so focused on the practical, I wasn't nurturing my my moon. My moon in Aries encourages me to take risks. I've got to be challenged. It's got to be fun. It's got to inspire me, and working with
Spontaneous,
them.
yeah.
Yeah, there's got to be something spontaneous. Yeah. And yeah, my Uranus at my IC, I'm an undercover rebel even to myself. Like I just do things differently. And understanding my moon has helped me understand myself so much better and me in relationship to other people so much better. Like
Hmm.
understanding, yeah,
Yeah, in
just how
relationships.
different we all are. Yeah.
Yeah, and do you find like knowing your chart also helps you with your clients, like knowing how you can help them? And
Yes.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. You
finding
can
the
put your chart with your client's chart and then see like both where is how you're helping them and then flip it how they're helping you or what your lesson is from working with this person.
hmm. So what are you studying right now? What's your area? Because I know how you're always like doing some form of something. Like what's your topic of curiosity and passion at the moment?
Right now, astrologically, what is something I'm really working on right now?
What's like your new like, ooh,
Oh, I love progressions. I think you asked me about this earlier. When I
yeah,
work with clients, I really work with the progressions. Yeah.
yeah.
So that's something and I'm like right now, I'm really studying retrogrades on a deeper level.
Yeah,
Mm,
retrogrades are your new kind of like thing
yeah,
that
that's
you're
my new
really.
thing.
Yeah, so what's a thing that you want that you could share to everybody about retrogrades that you find is important to understand? So you mentioned the degree of station as
Hmm.
like it, and then what
Yeah.
else? What would you say?
Well, really watching to see what comes up with them. And I think retrogrades, the biggest thing I feel about them, like Mercury retrograde, everybody knows about that it gives us an opportunity. I love how they bring errors to our attention. Uh,
Mhm.
so I'm always like finding things that need to be fixed during Mercury
Quality
retrogrades.
control.
And and they can help us know things. Like I started to have a computer that was starting to have problems, and I saw Mercury retrograde coming, and I was like, I need to get this thing fixed before it breaks down, and it's going to break down probably at this next Mercury retrograde. So let me go ahead and get this new thing now. Yeah,
Mhm.
helping you understand timing, helping you plan. Okay, I'm not going to travel on a day Saturn stationing if I can help it, because there's going to be delays potentially. Some kind of hardship, some kind of difficulty will show up. Maybe it's just 10 minutes or maybe it's 10 hours. Just knowing these sorts of things and then watching them unfold. Um, yeah, and like the day Neptune stationed retrograde this year, they kept in the news they were talking about how people felt like they were being gaslighted by the Biden administration. Seeing the curtains open and the great powerful Oz, seeing for really what it is. So like knowing in my own life, okay, what in my life is being exposed that was a fantasy, but now I'm seeing beneath the curtain. So it helps me to see. I don't remember what it was off my top of my head this year, but there was some fantasy, I'm sure, or an illusion or some story I was telling myself that I got a reality check with Saturn and
Mm.
Neptune coming together. That's what, and that's a big transit that's happening. Saturn and Neptune, as they get closer and closer, everyone over the next couple of years, February 26, 2026, they come together. Like, what stories are you telling yourself that you're getting clarity about what the real picture is? Or how can you dissolve the blocks and go after your dreams? Yeah, and move past the restrictions. Neptune dissolves, Saturn
And it's a really
walls.
interesting degree too, because it's going to be like at that 29 0 degree Aries, 29 Pisces, like literally the end of the zodiac, like the conjunction will be at that
Zero
very
Aries.
0 Aries, and then retrograde, and then back they have like this little tension at the 29 and the 0th degree. That's really crazy.
A
Um,
world point. So what
oh,
does it mean for like knowing the world points is good if you want to, if you like mundane. It's a
right.
world point. Something's going to go on for the world and also on the personal level.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's a huge deal. So anybody who has anything at that 0 cardinal 29 mutable,
Yeah.
that's like definitely a very big deal. Amazing. And so tell me, like to conclude a little bit, like I want to know what you're seeing for yourself in the future with this. Like what's your vision for you in astrology, and a little bit like what's your hoped legacy in this field, you know?
Okay. So my legacy, I want on the deepest core level to help people see the magic and the mystery in their own lives, and like by connecting to how events come through their lives, it helps them understand, I think, and as well as bring forgiveness to yourself and help you understand your growth journey,
Mm-hmm.
as well as helping you make decisions and avoid difficulties because you see things coming and you recognize how I can use my free will. I think astrology helps give more access to the free will rather than just be swept away by fate, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I love helping people with. The second thing, okay, that Saturn, Neptune at 0 Aries, it's on my Juno and conjunct my midheaven. So where do I want to be at that time? And one of the things, and this is something I've wanted to be since I started, I want to be a predictive astrologer who gets clearer and clearer and clearer with their predictions. And by that time, I'm going to be like spitting, like it's going to
Spitting
be
truth every
spitting
day.
truths.
Spitting the truth.
They're like my success rate is what I'm working on going up and up. And like right now, sometimes I'll be like I'll just be reading the energy and then like write things down and post them on threads, and they'll be related to an event. But I want to be able to say like more like, okay, clearer predictions about this is the event that's coming.
Right, and have like a real like less because right now they're sometimes really broad, the
Yes.
predictions, like, oh, this is really big, and then we can see exactly where it happened. Yeah, I understand that. That's beautiful. So I want
In
to take
order
a
to help people, like in order to help people, yeah.
right. In order to
Of,
help people prepare prepare
Prepare.
the weather. It's almost like
Yes.
you're almost like wanting to do weather reports for the
That's what I do with
astrology,
the
for the
Celestial Insights
world.
podcast. I give you a weather report every week. What is the theme of the week? What are the three big things you should be thinking about? What's a word of the day? And a little ditty about the energy of the day.
I love that. So just like the weatherman, you just want to get more accuracy because
Yes. I want to
90%
be,
chance of rain
uh,
or something.
yes, I want to be the best weather reporter I could be.
Yeah, I love how weather reporters always have like the name that goes with that, right? They're all like Steve Storm. And like that's their name. Like,
Like Al Roker. I keep thinking about Al Roker. Like now it
oh,
keeps
you're
coming
gonna
to
be
my mind.
skinny, you're gonna be pretty Al Roker.
Yeah. Yeah. And
That's
like,
so
okay, so
funny.
this is something I do sometimes as well. Why is Al Roker coming to my mind? And then
Yeah,
like as I deepen my intuition, I said, like I'm doing 40 days of spirit, which is about developing my
with our
intuition,
friend
recognizing a
Tiffany Harlick.
symbol,
Yeah.
what's the connection, and I'm feeling like it's a rook. So the chess game, and this week is the Republican National Convention. And I think I predicted a while ago that Nikki Haley might be Trump's VP pick. And
Oh, that's
I
announced
think
today, right?
she is, well, okay, so she wasn't, last week she wasn't even going to the convention, but then Trump had this assassination attempt, and now she's going to the National Republican Convention. She's speaking on Tuesday, and the podcast is called Wrestling with a Pig. And I think Trump is going to be going in hardcore trying to get her to agree to be his running mate. Now, will she say yes or will she say no? I don't know. But I posted about something about Larry, Curly, and Moe a while ago, and I think that's the other people. There are all these men. There's like this JD Vance, Tim Scott, and this other guy, Doug Berman or something, who all think they're going to be the vice
The
president.
VP.
But here comes Algol, Mars Uranus conjuncts Algol, Nikki Haley, the
And
Lilith archetype, the woman who would be
exactly.
subservient. And this Wednesday, the sun in Cancer is going to square Eris, the dwarf planet. That's the goddess of chaos who rolled the apple into the party. And it upset the apple cart, and yeah, and then started the Trojan War. And I'm wondering if she's going to say yes and be. I'm positive he's trying to get her to be his running mate. This is survival for him, life and death. If he jail or not jail, whether he wins the presidency. But will she? And she's wrestling with a pig. Is she going to? The Venus is on her south node. And when things are on your south node, it can be like you do something and then you regret it later. So she's got this invitation. Venus is on her south node. Is she going to accept it? Because she really may regret it. But Pluto is on her sun and she wants the power. And like, so she's wrestling with this pig inside because his values are not in line with hers, but she wants to be president. So we shall see. This is how life becomes a storytelling epic, and why I'm not reading novels, because I'm reading the energy and making a novel in my own head.
That's amazing, but it's really fascinating. For those listening, Celeste, our friend Tiffany Harlick, and we call ourselves the trifecta. We once a year, and maybe we're gonna have a catch up soon. I think we will have a catch up by the election time. But what we do at the end of do we do it in December?
November, December.
Well, in November, December, we do a year forecast together where we talk about like the politics and what could happen. And the three of us, give predictions for the big moments of the astrology. And honestly, so far, so good. We're not off at all. Like I was looking back at our last year predictions and we're we're good. So we do that every year, and we might do a little catch up It
I
was
think
a
we should.
We should. I think we should. So first, before we say goodbye, I want to take a minute to thank all your teachers. You're amazing people. So I wrote the list of their name. We have Leslie McGurk, Rebecca Gordon, Deborah Silverman, the whole school of traditional astrology, including Frank Clifford, Anne Orderly,
Oh, I should say Deb Holding and Wade Caves
Deb
and Lee
Holding,
Leben.
Wade Caves, Lee Lehman,
They
Anne
are the SPA.
Orderly, Anne Orderly, April Elliott Kent, Brownwyn Simmons. Those are all the people that I'm so grateful taught you astrology to make you the amazing astrologer that you are today. And so gratitude for all your teachers, for your ancestors, for all the people who brought you here, for your mother who named you Celeste. Uh, and gratitude for Deborah Silverman, particularly, who brought you to me and made us to become such great friends. And so thank you so much for being with us today. I want you to tell our
Well, can I
listener,
thank one more person?
yeah,
Melina from DSA. I spent a
Milena
lot
from
of
DS,
time.
yeah,
What's your last name? I can't
Milena
remember.
Metz. Milena
Yes,
Metz, yeah,
he
amazing.
was my level two.
Who was your
My
level
level
two
two.
teacher and who was an excellent astrologer and a good trainer. So thank you to Milena. Please
And you,
tell her
Sarah, you've taught me so
and
much.
me, yay! No, and can you tell our listener where they can find out more about your work and your programs?
Yeah, so I'm astrologybyceleste.com is my website. I'm at Astrology by Celeste everywhere on social. Instagram is my main platform, but I sometimes like I use threads as I get a little wild sometimes on
It's
threads. And then my podcast is the Celestial Insights Podcast. It's available wherever you listen to podcasts. I highly recommend people join OPA Astrology if you're an astrology enthusiast or want to be an astrologer. It's opaastrology.org. And I do the transits talks every first Sunday, as well as I host the speaker series. We have such wonderful programs. It's only $80 a year, and you can pay monthly. If you're really into it, I teach for Kepler College, and I teach transits at Kepler College. It's a wonderful institution. Yes. And what else?
beautiful.
Come if you I work with people on a longer term range if you want coaching too.
And follow,
And
I
host
hope,
monthly moon cycles. Or maybe I
yes.
may change to a community next year. I'm
She
thinking
does
about it.
a lot of things. Go to astrologybyceleste.com. Follow Astrology by Celeste on all the platforms. Everyone, thank you so much for listening in. I'm Sarah Al-Harar. You can find out more about my work on astrology.com, including my upcoming retreat in Costa Rica in January 2025 and my monthly membership, 13 Moons. Please subscribe and follow for more from me inside the Astro Studio. Thank you so much, Celeste.
Thank you. Oh, I forgot to tell them about my Oprah retreat.
Opa retreat happening soon. Tell them.
Okay, October 16th to 21st, I am teaching all about the moon. I'm teaching my moon mastery program in Park City, Utah at the OPA retreat. It is going to be phenomenal. Yes, so check it out on my
Phenomenal.
website.
Yes, amazing. Thank you so much, Celeste. Thanks for listening, everybody. See you soon.